Just how safe and healthy are e-cigs? Well, that's a question we can ask our next guest, Dr. Derek Yach, who is the founder and head of the Foundation for a Smoke-Free World. Good morning, Dr. Derek.
Good morning.
First of all, tell us about the foundation. This sounds like a very noble ambition, but is it ever achievable, do you think?
I think it is. So the foundation really does focus on trying to accelerate the decline in smoking worldwide. And interestingly, part of the commitment we have is to also address the needs of farmers, because they're going to be placed out of work at a greater rate. I think the combination of e-cigs and a range of reduced risk products and a greater attention on cessation, I think at last is starting to give us hope that we can go much faster than we have in the past in addressing what smokers really seek as they try and get off the products.
Now, this foundation is being funded by Philip Morris International, one of the world's biggest tobacco companies. Do they really want a smoke-free world? It's commercial suicide for them, isn't it?
Well, if you look at their commitment, it's to make conventional cigarettes obsolete. And they are looking at a wide range of reduced risk products as one of the alternatives to their business model. The foundation, of course, is being set up to be independent of the company with a separate board, with all the requirements that one can think of, independent science, peer review, and so on, built into it. And I think the confluence of interest lies in the foundation goal of reducing the public health impact and the Philip Morris goal of trying to shift from conventional cigarettes to, as I say, reduced risk products.
But is that really their intention? And I acknowledge you're not here as a representative of Philip Morris, but we have to point out that they have, in recent years and decades, embarked on a very aggressive targeting of developing countries, especially in Africa, where they have huge marketing campaigns to encourage new smokers. There are lower public health measures in those countries. The number of smokers in Africa anticipated to rise by nearly 40% between 2010 and 2030. That's not really campaigning for a smoke-free world, is it?
Well, I think that part of the foundation's ability to gain credibility with the public health world will be how sharply do we actually highlight some of these discrepancies. And that's certainly built into our ability to do. We're under no constraints about where we will go to actually focus on reducing the impact of tobacco, including calling to account the very companies who are funding the foundation.
Okay, well, we'll wait to see on that one.
Yes.
The issue of vaping then, because clearly, as you say, Philip Morris see this as a market they can get into. So if not a smoke-free world, then a very much a vaping world. That's the one they aspire to. Is it completely safe as far as you're concerned?
The real question is, how does it compare to smoking cigarettes? And there is no question that we're talking about probably a 90 to 95% plus reduction in cancer, heart disease, lung diseases as people switch to an e-cigarette. So from a public health point of view, that represents a huge win over a product that normally would actually give you a 50% chance of dying of the product if you used it regularly. If you look at what's happened in the UK, and the studies are now coming out of the US showing the same picture, that people who move on to an e-cigarette have a much greater chance and probability of quitting completely than people on a nicotine replacement therapy or many other forms of advice that don't work as well. So the user reduces their risk, and the user of vapes also has a high probability of quitting forever. Together, that's very good news.
That is good news. But would you, for example, say it's completely safe to vape inside a home, particularly perhaps where there are young children around?
I think one has to be prudent. The evidence is starting to get stronger that all the exposure stuff coming out of a vape is very minimal, but it may not be zero, and nobody is saying that it's zero. So I think obviously parents may prudently not want to be puffing right next to their kids, particularly their young kids, since they are probably going to be exposed to nicotine, and we can't be 100% certain about what nicotine can do in young kids. We can be 100% certain that if they are using the vaping and related products, they are dramatically lowering the risk of them previously being on a cigarette.
Well, it's very interesting to talk to you. Thank you very much for your time, Dr. Derek Yach, who is the founder and head of the Foundation for a Smoke-Free World, as I mentioned, funded by Philip Morris International, but as he maintains, operating independently of that organisation.